Good evening, I'm Brett Baer. We're coming to you live tonight from the White House. Tonight, new questions about what the Trump administration did or did not do about domestic abuse allegations against former Staff Secretary Rob Porter. The director of the FBI today seemed to dispute the White House timeline about whether the security clearance procedure was finished or ongoing when Porter quit his job last week. And we have learned Porter was being considered for a promotion right up until his resignation. Chief White House correspondent John Roberts here on the North Lawn with all of this. A big story, John.
Yeah, it continues to be, and now we're almost into day 7 here. It's something that a lot of people think the White House should have been able to put away in the first couple of days. Sources tell Fox News that the White House was considering expanding the Staff Secretary Rob Porter's role to possibly include some of the duties of the Deputy Chief of Staff Jim Carroll, who was nominated last week by the president to be the drug czar, the week before that, actually. The White House continues to insist that the worst of the revelations about Porter were not known until very recently, prompting a competing narrative today from the FBI.
A day after the White House suggested the FBI clearance process failed to illuminate the allegations against Rob Porter in a timely fashion, FBI Director Christopher Wray tried to throw the White House under the bus.
The FBI submitted a partial report on the investigation in question in March. And then a completed background investigation in late July. That is soon thereafter, we received requests for follow-up inquiry, and we did the follow-up and provided that information in November, and then we administratively closed the file in January. And then earlier this month, we received some additional information, and we passed that on as well.
The White House, which has only said that it learned the full extent of the allegations against Porter last Tuesday, shifted its timeline today, acknowledging the FBI did give information on Porter to the White House Personnel Security Office.
The White House Personnel Security Office, staffed by career officials, received information last year and what they considered to be the final background investigation report in November. In the view of Personnel Security Office, the FBI's July report required significant additional investigatory fieldwork before Personnel Security Office could begin to evaluate the information for adjudication.
The White House Personnel Security Office, located across Pennsylvania Avenue from the White House, handles the information for security clearances. The press secretary today said the office had not completed the data gathering for Porter's security clearance at the time he resigned.
As Director Wray said, information was still coming to the White House Personnel Security Office in February.
At 2 public appearances today, President Trump refused to answer shouted questions about Porter and the issue of domestic violence.
Mr. President, do you have a message to domestic violence victims?
Democrats saw an opening and jumped on it.
I haven't heard the president say something directly about how bad domestic abuse is. You know, to have a spokesperson get out and say something is not good enough.
Avoiding any on-camera comment about the controversy, President Trump tried to keep the focus on his agenda, meeting with sheriffs on immigration and opioid abuse, huddling with members of Congress on trade, warning he won't stand by while foreign steel and aluminum are dumped into the U.S.
My administration is now reviewing the reports and considering all options. And part of the options would be tariffs coming in.
But that talk provoked words of caution from fellow Republicans.
I think we do need to be careful here that we don't start a reciprocal battle on tariffs.
Invoking national security, when I think it's really hard to make that case, invites retaliation that would be problematic for us.
And as Congress starts taking up DACA and immigration reform, President Trump gave Democrats a shove, tweeting, "Negotiations on DACA have begun. Republicans want to make a deal, and Democrats say they want to make a deal. Wouldn't it be great if we could finally, after so many years, solve the DACA puzzle? This will be our last chance. There will never be another opportunity." March 5th. And in his congressional meeting, the president tweaked Democrats at the table, including Ohio Senator Sherrod Brown.
I actually think that we can go bipartisan on infrastructure, maybe even more so than we can on DACA. Because the difference is we want to help DACA, you don't. Okay? I'm kidding. I'm sure you do.
The White House continues to insist that it will not trim down its DACA plan to get approval from Congress, saying it still has to have the president's 4 principles, trading a path to citizenship for 1.8 million people, for a border wall and other border security measures, an end to chain migration, and an end to the visa lottery program. Brett, the White House hopes that when all the votes are done in Congress over the next couple of weeks, its plan will be the last one standing.
John, where are we on the possibility of the president sitting down with Bob Mueller and what his team is saying?
My sense tells me that his legal team is leaning firmly against the idea, and here's the reason why. They've been reading an old case about Mike Espy, the Clinton-era agriculture secretary from the late 1990s, which found in the case that the president, that those seeking information from the president, in this case an interview, must demonstrate with specificity why it is likely that the subpoenaed materials, here his testimony, contain important evidence, and why this evidence or equivalent evidence is not practically available from another source. His legal team put out a page about a month ago saying that they've produced tens upon tens of thousands of documents. There have been interviews that the special counsel's office has conducted with 37 people, either from the White House or the transition. His legal team says that there is no evidence of any kind of collusion here so far, no evidence of obstruction because of the production of these documents, and that what was happening was it was a counterintelligence operation and not a criminal investigation, and the president could not obstruct a counterintelligence operation because he, by virtue of his position, is involved in all of that. So it looks like at this point, given the preponderance of the evidence that they're looking at, that they may not do an interview with Mueller, but I don't think that decision has fully been made yet.
Yeah, we should point out that we asked for someone to come out here, talk about a host of issues, including the Wray timeline. They didn't send somebody out today.
Not surprising.
There were a lot of questions in that briefing.
There were, and the problem for the White House has been that there's an evolving narrative here. Now, they got blindsided by this. Last Tuesday, they scrambled to try to get out something that would, hold the fire line back for a little while. Then it started to overwhelm them, so they had to come out again. I think the one person who could really clear all of this up would be the Chief of Staff, John Kelly. Remember,
Sure.
Lanny Davis wrote a book some time ago. Tell the truth, tell it early, tell it yourself, and tell it all.
Yeah.
And the one person who can do that is John Kelly. He knows how all this went down
this week.
I have an inkling that we may see him tomorrow.
All right, John, thank you as always.